Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is Thursday, it's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for another video. And today, I'm going to be talking about Big Blind. Now, Big Blind came out on Monday, but it's something that a lot of people have been talking about for a while. I've been working on this for around about 4 years. As I said on the interview with Bo Kramer, this is the first product that I actually went to Murphy's Magic with. Before EDC, before the Quantum deck, before all of the decks that I did with Phil Smith, I went to them with this, and it's took 4 years to get to this point. We've gone through so many prototypes. Anybody that's already picked this up will know at the beginning I show some of the early prototypes. In fact, the picture on the front of the box is actually of one of the early prototypes, and it's actually not of the finished product. I've been working on this for a very, very, very long time. And because I've been performing it at conventions and I've been performing it all over the place, there's been a lot of buzz about it. A lot of people have been excited about it. I know that a lot of people have already picked it up, and I really appreciate that. But there's a lot of other people that have been wanting to have some questions answered before they decide whether to pick up Big Blind or not. So I thought that I'd do a couple of videos on Big Blind. I'm not going to do a review. I might get Ryland to review it at one point, but I'm not going to do a review. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do two videos, one today and one on Monday. Now, the video today is going to be a Q&A where I very frankly and honestly answer everybody's questions about Big Blind. The video on Monday is going to be one of my exposed videos where I literally open up the box, show you the gimmicks, and talk you through how everything works. So you're going to see that on Monday. I'm kind of got a little bit of a busy week. I haven't got time to do both of them. But the first thing I wanted to do today is get out a video talking about everybody's questions, because the thing is, this has actually generated a lot of questions and a fair bit of controversy, as is normally the case. Honestly, I don't think I can bring out a trick these days without some sort of incredibly long thread on the Magic Cafe talking about why I suck, or why the trick sucks, or whatever the case may be. It always comes around to controversy. And that's the case with Big Blind before it even came out. So just so you guys know, it came out on Monday, but Murphy's gave a few select dealers this to them at Magi Fest. And I know that a lot of people picked it up at Magi Fest. I've had messages from them, and I've had a few people say, oh, I picked it up, it's the best thing I got from there, which is great, thank you very much. But a thread started on the Magic Cafe, on the latest and greatest forum, which is now on about 9 pages. And a thread started on there all about Big Blind and, people talking about it. And as with the Magic Cafe, kind of speculating, and I wonder how that works, and so on and so forth. And then what happened is a couple of people posted saying that they saw it at Magi Fest and they thought the quality of the gimmicks were not that great, and they decided not to pick it up. And that obviously led to pages and pages and pages of people saying, hey, hang on a minute, this is no good. This is obviously no good. This person says it's no good, so it's obviously no good. Let's wait for a version 2. I predict there's going to be a version 2, which is something that happens in Magic an awful lot. It's crazy, really, to see this, but it happens an awful lot. A lot of the time on forums and Facebook groups as well, to a certain extent, people gravitate towards the negative. So if somebody says, oh, this is good, there won't be many comments about it. But if somebody says, this is bad, you'll have a bunch of people jumping on saying, oh, I knew it wouldn't be any good. I knew it wouldn't be any good. And there's certain people, and I'm not going to name names, that will go on and latch on to anything that might not be 100% positive when it comes to my name. And that's what happened. And I was like, well, just wait till you get it. And these people haven't actually bought it. They're making this assumption based off watching a dealer demo it. They said there were alignment issues. They said there were sound issues. There are no alignment issues. On Monday, you'll see all the gimmicks, and you'll see that there's no alignment issues. In terms of sound issues, there's a click when an insert goes into one of the shells, but that's covered completely because you're clicking the shells together. So, the problem is they're seeing somebody else perform it that's not me, that's probably had very limited experience with it because they've literally just received it and they're demoing it at Magi Fest, and they maybe haven't practiced it to the point that they maybe could have, because they've got a million other things going on. But then also they're not seeing the tutorial. So you get all of that negativity. Now, as of time of filming, this is actually Thursday afternoon, a lot of people are posting going, oh, I've received mine, the quality's great. I've received mine, the quality's great. But as with the cafe, you never get people going, and making 5 or 6 pages of people saying positive comments. It's only negative comments. But then since that, my friend Unbiased Magic Reviews has put a video up saying why he's not going to buy it. He's rounded up some of the latest and greatest and said, Big Blind, I'm not going to buy it for a variety of different reasons. And then there's people that have commented down below going, yes, I wouldn't buy it for various different reasons. And then there's lots of other people that are commenting and saying they will buy it. Luke Dancy jumped in. Luke and I haven't always seen eye to eye. In fact, we had a very public falling out a couple of years ago. But he, to his credit, and I want to publicly apologise to Luke as well, because to his credit, you know, he jumped in. He didn't have to make a video about Big Blind. He didn't have to make a video at all. He did a review. He did a couple of posts on the cafe. And he was very positive. If you've seen the review, he says, this is great. I absolutely love it. Let me explain why I love it. As a magician in Vegas, this is good, blah, 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 blah. He talks about all of the problems and says they're not really problems. And that was great to see. So Luke jumped in. And like I said, you know, me and Luke have had a bit of a falling out. And a couple of years ago, a very public falling out. And I do want to say, and I said this on the cafe, and I said I was going to make a video about it. I'm trying to be more namaste in 2025. You haven't seen me do a rant, other than the Wednesday just gone where I got annoyed with a rabbit trick. Well, that was kind of fake angry. But I'm not really doing any rants. I'm kind of very chilled. The stuff that's going on in the cafe would normally have wound me up something rotten, but I don't really care. The stuff with Unbiased would have normally wound me up. Reading the comments on that YouTube channel would have probably normally really annoyed me, but now I don't care. It's like water off a duck's back. And I'm more namaste, and I do regret stuff. Some of the rants that I did in the past didn't need to be done, and yeah, I want to apologise to Luke because, you know, we could have handled things in a different way. I know I could have handled things in a much different way. So it's good that, you know, I want to look at this as a chance to move on for me and Luke Dancy. After all, I think I am the only person in the world with a tattoo on my arm saying I love Luke Dancy. So, you know, Luke. Anyway, all of that put together, that's why I'm making this video. I went through all of the reviews. I went through all of the Magic Cafe forums. I went through the Facebook forums. I went through Reddit. I went through all of the reviews that have gone on various different websites from people that sell it. And I have made a list of a whole bunch of questions, and I'm going to quick fire through the answers because I think the most important thing here is transparency. And yes, I'm going to expose this whole thing on Monday, but I haven't got time to do that exposure video now. For a variety of different reasons, one of which is Michael is really busy in there, and he's the one that films a lot of those things. And I want to answer some of these questions. So I've picked out the negative questions, or not the negative questions. A lot of them are just requests for more information, but I've picked out some of the negative stuff as well, because it's very difficult to answer a positive question. If somebody says, that's brilliant, I love it, it's like, well, there you go, thanks. You know, but there are so many positive comments out there and so many people saying how much they love it and they've already started performing it and, you know, they've had the gimmicks and it's amazing quality and so on and so forth. But for anybody who's got questions, I'm going to try and answer them all for you right now. So here it is. A whole bunch of questions. I'm going to try and quick fire through them. Everything you needed to know about Big Blind, but you were too afraid to ask. Let's go for it. Okay, question number 1. You can't perform it in the spectator's hands. This is something that Unbiased said. You can't perform it in the spectator's hands. And he says you're going to need a table to perform it because it's going to be difficult from an audience management point of view because the chips that you put into their hands are gimmicked. I don't really have an issue with that at all, and I completely disagree. In fact, on every single performance video you'll see, even if there's a table there, I'm putting them into the hands of the spectators. And the reason is, this is being framed as a bet. This is not being framed as it's like with a coin trick, right? If I was saying, hey, I'm going to put this coin into your hand, this is a perfectly normal coin, would they want to examine it? Maybe. Or if something had happened to that coin, let's say I've done a coins across, and then the 4 coins were left in their hand and they were gimmicked, and something had happened to those coins, magical had happened to those coins, and then you put them into the spectator's hands, then yeah, they'd probably want to look at them because they're trying to work out how the coins went from here to here, for example. But that's not the case with Big Blind. You're bringing out poker chips and you're saying, I've got 3 poker chips, I'm going to make a bet. Well, I say you're going to make a bet. That's one of the handlings. We'll get to that later on. But in the main handling on the tutorial or on the trailer, you say, hey, I've got 3 poker chips. I'm going to make a bet. Each one of these has a 50 on it. I'm going to bet you £150. First one, I'm going to tell you the suit. And the presentation with that is really important. I'm going to tell you what the suit is. The focus is not on the poker chips at all. The poker chips are just there as part of this bet, right? There's no focus on them. There's no need for them to want to turn them over and examine them. Unbiased was saying, well, you know, when I put something into a spectator's hand, they're going to want to turn it over. Not in this case, because you're putting it into their hand just as a kind of a visual thing to solidify this bet of £50. I bet and you're concentrating on looking them in the eye and saying you picked a club. And if they say yes or no, it doesn't really matter. You go, oh no, I can't believe it. Now, so it's totally not an issue. Now, is it a problem putting it on the table? No, but I never do it on a table. You see all the live performances, you're going to see me putting them into the spectators' hands, and never have had people wanting to turn it over prematurely because of the structure of the presentation behind the routine. So, yes, you can perform it in the spectators' hands. You can do that quite easily. Okay, so Don Wand, my old friend Don Wand went on the cafe and he said that because I got interviewed by Bo Kramer about this, and I made the statement that I think this is better than the invisible deck. Big Blind is better than the invisible deck. And Don Juan went on the cafe and said, if you genuinely believe that Big Blind is better than the invisible deck, then you need to take a break from Magic and just get out. Which I thought was a bit harsh, because basically what he's saying is, if my opinion is different to his, then I need to leave Magic, which was a bit crazy, but, you know, whatever. We'll look past that bit. Is it better than the invisible deck? And the answer, honestly, I believe it is, but that's just only my opinion. Now, this is based on someone who has released the biggest project on routines with the invisible deck. This is somebody who, on the recent Penguin Holiday special, released a handling of the invisible deck that a lot of people have said is their favourite handling. Yeah, I believe this is better than the traditional way of doing the invisible deck. If you're going to do the invisible deck where you go, I've got this deck of cards here, I want you to name a card, look, it's the only one card turned over in the pack. That's strong. Of course it's strong. I think this is better. Because first of all, the presentation is a little bit more engaging. I love that magician in trouble scenario. We'll get to the presentation later on. Even if I'm not using that one ahead presentation, just putting 3 chips in their hand and saying name a card and then turning them over, or just putting 2 chips in their hand. You know, I think that's better than the invisible deck. I love the fact that the prediction is permanently on the back of the poker chips. I love the fact that there's nothing else in play. With the invisible deck, you've got a deck of cards. You know, and I've had people in the past say, well, maybe he's flipped one over. With this, that can't be the case. You can't have flipped one card over because it's permanently printed on the back of a poker chip. So, yeah, I think it's better than the invisible deck. I really do. Now, that's only my opinion. But I think if you're taking the classic handling of the invisible deck, I think Big Blind's better. Point number 3, I've had a couple of people bring this up, so even though it's kind of related to point number 1, I'll mention it quickly, that you need a table to perform the trick. No, you don't. Anybody who's saying that, I don't think they've watched the actual performances. I never use a table for this. This is a walk-around piece. This is my walk-around opener an awful lot, because it's the perfect opener. Hold your hand out, I'm going to bet you, I can boom, 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 gonna bet, job done. It's the perfect opener, really. It really is. And you don't need a table. Now, is there routines on the project with a table? Absolutely. Could you use a table? Yeah, but you don't need to, because the whole point is you can put it into the spectators' hands. And when you saw me in the session, I was going around and magicians were there watching me performing for lay people and watching me just put those chips into the spectators' hands. And they never see anything because of the structure of the routine. So yes, you can do it in the hands. You don't need a table. Okay, so point number 4. Kind of related to point number 2, or point number 1, or one of the points, I don't know. You can't perform it strangers. This is something Unbiased said. I wouldn't feel comfortable performing it for strangers, maybe if somebody you know, because they're going to turn those chips over prematurely. And the answer to that is, no, they're not. They're not going to turn those chips over prematurely because of the structure of the routine. I've kind of already been through that. Some of these questions are going to cross over, which is why I'm kind of rushing through them. They're not going to actually turn those chips over ahead of time. And the reason they're not is because the structure of the presentation is so engaging. You're having them think of a playing card. You're having them think of it's like any sort of mind-reading presentation. You tell them to concentrate, look at you. They're focused on that. They're not focused on what's on their hand. And even if they were focused on what's on their hand, nothing has happened to those poker chips. They're just arbitrary props props that you're putting into somebody's hand to visualize the bet that you're making for them or with them. So there's no emphasis put on the poker chips at all. That kind of makes sense. So yeah, you can perform it for strangers. Okay, so the next question that I've got is, it was brought up on Unbiased channel. Why have 3 poker chips? And the point was made, why not just have 1 poker chip? And just have 1 poker chip down, and it says on there, whatever, 7 of diamonds. Well, there's a couple of different reasons. Obviously, from a practicality point of view, from a performance point of view, you need an index. You know, obviously this works with inserts being put into shells that are on the spectator's hands. You need an index. Now, if you were going to have 1 poker chip, you'd technically need 52 inserts, right? Which would be a massive index. Or you'd have to limit their choices. You know, kind of like, do you want the pictures or the numbers? Numbers, okay, get rid of the numbers, now we've got the pictures. And you'd have to limit their choices. I didn't want to limit their choices. Look, here's the thing, when you create a magic trick, you're always going to have to make sacrifices. And certain sacrifices are made at certain routines, depending on the creator and depending on the trick. I did not want sacrifice I didn't want to make with this particular trick, is I wanted them to have a completely free choice of 52 cards. And I also wanted there to be the smallest possible index. I knew from the beginning I wanted the index to fit onto the back of a pack of cards, and I wanted the index to fit into their pocket. I wanted everything to be in one pocket, and you could have other stuff in the pocket as well. When I do big blind, I've got it in my trouser pocket. I've also got my coins in there for my monster coin routine. I've also got a purse because I use the purse handling more often than not. I wanted to make sure that everything was in there. So I wanted certain things I couldn't sacrifice. It was never a thing, let's do it with 1 poker chip, because obviously my inspiration was Cody Fisher's Killer Prediction and obviously The Predator Wallet by Paul Wilson. Both amazing tricks. So I never kind of went down the route of thinking 1 poker chip, 1 poker chip. It was always meant to be 3 poker chips. But why 3 poker chips? So from a technical point of view and a practicality point of view, it makes it much easier and more commercial if you are using 3 poker chips, because it reduces the work that you need to do. And secondly, and probably more importantly as well, I love the presentation behind it. You know, the presentation of, I'm going to make you a bet. I'm going to bet you another £50. I'm going to bet you another £50. I love that presentation. It's very, very engaging, and it's very, very different to name a card. Look, this is the card. So I love the turnover. If you watch the live performances, you go, this is a diamond, this is an of, and you're not going to believe it. And they're anticipating at that point, this is an ace. And that's one of the reasons why the reactions are so strong. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why the reactions are so strong. So why the 3 poker chips? Because there need to be for the method, which was kind of a weird thing to say, like, why 3 poker chips? It's like, well, why are you using 4 aces for an ace assembly? It's kind of like different tricks have different methods. That's why I'm using 3 poker chips. Okay, so next question is, can people who are in other countries perform it? Because obviously Big Blind has 3 poker chips, and one of which is an of. And because of that of, it means that you know, some people in different countries can't use the of, because of isn't a thing. There's some countries where you just say the card and the value. There's other countries where they have a different word for of. The answer is, of course, yes. So for anybody who's got the trick, there's one handling, which is my favorite handling, which is the purse handling, which is where you have 3 chips in a purse, and you have the suit indices in the purse as well. So everything's like self-contained. So you reach in and you take out the of and you put it down. Then when you know the suit, you reach in and you take out the next poker chip and you put the insert in inside the poker chip, inside the purse. So there's no sleight of hand or anything, because it's happening inside the purse. And then you take the last one out, you put the purse away, and you just load the last insert. Now you can do that without the of. So I can literally say, I've got 2 poker chips in here, and I'm going to show you them in a second. But first of all, can you name a suit for me? Club. And can you name a value? 7. Fantastic. Okay, 7 of clubs. Brilliant. Now, I said I've got 2 poker chips in here. This is the first one. It's got a 50 on it because this has a value of £50. And I've taken out the first poker chip and I've put the club in it. This poker chip, this is another one, and this has got 50 on as well. And now I put the purse away in my pocket and I steal the insert that I need for the value. You can go, now, let me just take this one and put it in your hand. And let me take this one and put it in your hand. And as I do that, I'm loading the insert. And I go, right, okay, what was the card again that you guys turn over the chips? Boom. You don't need the of in that case. There's a lot of other routines on the project where you don't need to use the third chip. You can just use 2 chips. You can work one ahead. One of the ways I love doing this is working one ahead. So I'll take 2 chips out and put them on the table. I'll say, I've got 2 chips over there. I'm going to get back to that a little bit later on. By the way, can you name a card? And they name 7 of spades, for example. And you go, brilliant, okay, no problem. Now you're doing a couple of other routines, whatever you want to do. And you don't even have them name the 7 of spades. You can just have them peek it. You can write it down and put it in your wallet and peek it, right? But they're thinking of a card. You're doing something else. Maybe you're doing a coin routine over here or a chop cup routine or whatever. And as you're putting the props away, you're getting the inserts. And then you've got the inserts, and as you pick them up, you load the 2 inserts. Now, all I've got to do is say, now remember these chips were here from the very beginning? You thought of a card. What was the card you thought of? 7 of spades. Look at that, 7 of spades. Boom. So you don't need a, no, the answer is you don't need the of chip. There's lots of different ways on the tutorial of doing this without the of. So if you're from a different country, makes no difference. Okay, so the next question I've seen a couple of times. What is the excuse for the hand going into the pocket? And that's a good question, because this came from a couple of people asked this after watching Lloyd's performance. So if you don't know, Lloyd performed this on Kaylee on the wife test, or the fooler test, fool her. And it was great, fantastic, really, really good performance. And Lloyd's favourite way of performing it, because he's a casual performer, right? His favourite way of performing it is to bring the chips out, and he's got the suits in palm. So he puts the of chip in their hand. Then they name the suit, and he loads the correct suit in as he puts that in their hand. And then he casually puts his hand in his pocket, and you know, he asks the value, and then he gets the correct insert and puts that in his and loads that. And we talk about that handling on the tutorial. In all honesty, that's not my favourite handling at all. The reason is, as a professional performer, people burn me a lot more than a social performer, so I don't want to put my hand in my pocket for no reason, which is why the purse handling is my favourite handling, because the inserts are inside the purse. I open up the purse, I put the of in their hand. Then I find out what the suit is, and I take the next one out, and I've loaded the suit in there. So I put that in their hand. And then the last one, I just put that on their hand, and I just make sure that that's not anything inserted into it. Now I put the purse away. They've already told me the value. I put the purse away. And as I put the purse away, I'm getting the correct insert. There's only 6 inserts. It's very easy to do. And then as I pick up the chips, I load that last insert. So now I've got everything loaded. So my reasoning for my hand going into my pocket is to get the purse. Now, the other handling I talk about is using a gag. So you can have an envelope in your pocket with a 52-on-1 card in it, or a card that says look on the back of the chips or something like that. So that way you can have them out from the beginning, and you can put them into the spectator's hands. And as you put the last one in, and you go, you know, obviously I failed, but what if I told you I knew this from the beginning? I've got an envelope in my pocket. Now you get the envelope out and you get the insert. Now, you know, I've got this envelope in my pocket. If this had your card on it, would that be good? Look, they're all on there. Ha, 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 ha. And then, you know, it's a gag, but then you pick up the chips, and that's your opportunity to load the insert, and that's when you actually show that the chips have actually got the card on the other side. So there's lots of different ways of putting your hand in your pocket, and also there's other routines where you don't even need to go in the pocket, especially some of the stuff from Javier, because the insert, Javier designed it to madlock onto the back of the phone. So you can put it on the back of a phone, you can put it on the back of a deck of cards, you can put it, so you can do it with Invisible Deck. Ironically, you can have it on the back of an Invisible Deck, and you can have the insert there. So you can, holding the deck, you can do the whole Invisible Deck routine, take the cards out, and you're using, as you're talking about this, you're stealing the necessary chips that you need, and that way there's no palming at all, which is great. You can have it on the back of some envelopes. There's lots of different ways of not having your hand in your pocket and not even having the insert in the pocket. I mean, you guys know my tutorials. I tend to cover all of the bases, but yeah, what's the excuse for putting your hand in your pocket? There's many, many different reasons for doing that. Okay, this was kind of a weird one. This is one of the points that Unbiased made, which is having a permanent prediction means it looks forced and is not as powerful as having somebody pick a card or a prediction on a billet or something like that, or a folded up card. And he's saying because the prediction is permanently on the back of the chip, it's not as powerful as having a card because it means that it must have been. I think his reasoning was if you've got a printed prediction on the back of the poker chips, they know that that was the only card that they could have possibly picked, and so therefore they assume that you forced it. Whilst if it was a billet routine or if it was a folded up card, they're not going to think that you forced it. I don't really have anything to say about that. I completely disagree. I mean, the presentation is think of any card. You can genuinely think of any card. It's not, I would understand that point if I was like using a deck of cards and saying pick a card, or if I was using Michael Murray style verbal forcing and having them like go in one direction. But I literally just say pick a card. Just because the prediction is printed on the back of a poker chip doesn't make it any less strong. In fact, I think it makes it stronger, because a folded up card could be switched. I mean, look at Christian Grace's switch one. That's the method. He's got a folded up card and he switches it for the card that they name, right? Lay people understand about switches. The thing with this is the chips are on display from the very, very beginning, right? Which is, I think, very, very powerful. And I love the fact that they're printed on there. That was one of the things that I wanted to do when I was trying to move away from Predator Wallet. I didn't want to have the card written on a bill. I wanted it to be permanently printed. I felt that was a better revelation. So I think it's actually more powerful, but obviously that's unbiased opinion, that's fine. I think it's personally more powerful having it printed on there. I don't think it's a weak point by having it printed on there, and I definitely don't think that people will think that it's forced. And the other thing about using a folded up card is if you are using an index, it's much easier having an index with 6 inserts on it than it is having like, what, 26 cards or whatever you're going to have if you're going to do a folded up card and a switch. So yeah, I think this is... I don't really get the point, but you know. Okay, so another thing that Unbiased said is a billet routine is better and more versatile, and he talks about his own billet routine that he does, which sounds fantastic actually. If you're watching this Unbiased, chef's kiss, sounds great. And one of the points he makes is, excuse me, he shows the piece of paper at the beginning. So he does this billet routine where he's predicting. He can predict a playing card, but he's predicting anything. And he shows the billet to a few people to show there's nothing written on it. And then he has them think of something and he opens it up later on and he's predicted whatever it is that they're thinking of. And his point is that's better for a couple of different reasons. And the first reason is he can show there's nothing on the billet from the beginning, which you can't do with the chips. And the other point is, he says, it doesn't have to be a playing card. It could be anything. It could be a city. It could be a country. It could be this. It could be that. It could be the other. So those 2 points. Number one, yeah, this is a card trick. This is designed to be a revelation of a playing card. I don't think that weakens it. I don't think, you know, I mean, there's millions of predictions that's been released. I don't think as a reviewer, I've ever turned around and said, well, this card prediction is no good because it would be much better if you could predict a city. That's a completely different thing. I mean, it sounds fantastic, revealing a personal thought. Absolutely. That's great. This is a different thing. This is a revelation of a playing card, which is why it's poker chips, because obviously it's gambling and playing cards that kind of go together hand in hand. So I kind of don't really think of that as an issue. I understand showing the abilities. I understand having, you know, I understand about, you know, not being a playing card is strong, but I don't think that having a card revelation is a bad thing. I mean, that's how we've marketed it, you know, predict any named card. It's not like we're trying to make out something that it's not. The other point is very interesting when he says, hey, a billet is stronger because you can show that the billet is blank, and then you can have, you know, it means that, you know, they're seeing there's nothing written on it. I understand his points, and no, you can't show the other side of the poker chips at all. So I can't show that they're blank and then a prediction has appeared on it. But that's not the trick. With the billet routine that Unbiased is talking about, and again, it sounds brilliant, he's showing that there's nothing on the billet, he's making a prediction and he's showing it's correct, which is great. This is a different trick. Because with this, we're showing that was a foregone conclusion what card they were going to pick because it's been printed on the poker chips from the beginning. And I think this is one of the most important points, and I talked about this on my interview with Bo Kramer. One of the reasons I think this gets such a strong reaction is because it's not framed as a prediction. I'm not saying I am going to predict what you are going to think of. With a billet, you're like, yeah, there's nothing on this. I'm going to write down what I think you're going to do. And you have, that's a prediction. Everybody knows that that prediction is going to be correct, assuming you're a competent mentalist. They know that eventually, whatever they think of, it's going to be correct. They have no idea how it's done. It's going to be correct. And a lot of magic and a lot of mentalism goes that way. Coin and bottle. You're going to put a coin in the bottle. They don't know how it's done. It looks great, but they knew that coin was going to go into that bottle. I'm going to make a prediction. There's most magic and mentalism, they know what's going to happen ahead of time. There's no surprise there, right? They know. And even if there is a surprise, they kind of realize before the revelation so for example, card to wallet. They don't know the card's going in the wallet, but the second you bring the wallet out, people are going to go, my card's going to be in there. I have no idea how, but my card's going to be in there, right? Now, with Big Blind, it's not a prediction. It's not the same thing as a billet routine because it's not framed as a prediction. The chips are being used to illustrate a bet that you're making with the spectator. Excuse me. The chips are being used to illustrate a bet that you're making with the spectator. I'm going to bet you I can tell you your card. I'm going to bet I can tell you your suit, your value, whatever it may be. You're not mentioning prediction at all. At no point are you mentioning a prediction. So when you get to the point that they've got 3 chips in their hand and you've just kind of basically flat out ballsed it up, apparently, at that point, they don't know a prediction's coming. If I said to them at that point, do you know where this trick's going to go? Nobody would say, my card is going to be printed on the other side of the poker chips. But if I did a billet routine and wrote something on a billet and put it down there and had them think of something, and then at that point said, do you know where this routine's going to go? They would go, yeah, you're going to write it on there. I don't know how. It's amazing, but that's what's going to happen. So with this, it's a surprise. So if you look at the trailer and you look at the reactions, the reason the reactions are so strong is because they don't realize that there's a prediction happening. Even though it is a prediction trick, they don't realize it's a prediction trick until they turn it over. And then they're like, oh my gosh, no, that's why it's so strong. So to answer the question, billet routine is more versatile and it's better. I don't think it's better. I think it's a different trick. I prefer doing it this way. 1, because I'm not a mentalist. I don't carry billets around with me. But 2, and more importantly, I want that element of surprise. I don't want to telegraph that it's a prediction trick. I want that to be a really magical moment, and that's why the reactions I think are so strong with this. Okay, so the next question is, how big is the index? Great question. It's very, very small. Javier designed it. It's designed to be smaller than the pack of playing cards, so it can stick to the back of a deck. You can maglock it onto the back of a phone very, very easily, and he's designed it so it's tapered inwards, and the design is great, and you'll see it on Monday on the exposed video, but the design of this thing is great because it means that the angles, if people are looking from the side, I mean, there's no angles in the main routine because the index is in your pocket. But if you've got it on the back of a deck of cards or a phone, for example, people looking from behind can see that, obviously. So the way to limit that is to have it tapered, and then you can get much more coverage. You can have people standing to the side and they won't see anything. But it's very small. And that was one of the most important things. I struggle with big indexes. I didn't want to have many things to feel for. So there's only 6 inserts that you ever have to feel for. And you will immediately find that it's very, very easy because of how the index is made and how it's designed. And we've got it so that even if it rotates around in your pocket, you'll be able to very easily know which way is which. So how big is the index? Not very big. So the next question, isn't the sound an issue? And the answer is no. This is something that was said very early on the Magic Cafe. People that had seen it at Magi Fest, 1 or 2 people said, I think sound's going to be an issue. And I think the problem with this is because they hadn't seen the tutorial. And so they didn't know about the structure of the routine. Now, there's no sound issue, really. If you have this at home, you'll know this. But you have to put an insert into a shell, right? And when you do that, if you can do it slowly and there's no click, but if you do it at normal speed, there might be a bit of a click. But the routine is constructed so that when you load it, the chips are clinking against each other. So the purse routine, which is my favorite routine, the 3 chips are in the purse. So when I take the first chip out, put it in their hand, no problem. When I take the second out, is there a click when I load the insert into it? Yes, but there's 2 chips in there, so it would make sense that there's a click. So as I take it out, it's fine. Then I take the last one out and I put the purse away, I get the final insert. And as I pick up the chips, and I pick 2 up at the same time, watch the performances, you'll see, I pick 2 up the first time and I say, I'd like to prove to you that I knew ahead of time what card you'd pick. they clink against each other as I pick them up, and that's when I do the load. But even at that point, they don't know what's happening. So I pick them up and I hold them here so I can turn them over, but sometimes I put them back into their hands. And I know that somebody on Unbiased went, well, he's picking them up and putting them down for no reason. I pick them up to display them and then turn them over, but I can put them back down. But there's no... there's a lot of economy of motion here, because with the purse handling, you take the chip, you put it down. Take a chip, put it down. Take a chip, put it down. Pick them up, turn them over, done. There's no fumbling around, if that kind of makes sense. But the sound is completely covered in every single one of the routines. Okay, so the next point, which again was made by Unbiased, he says, is it hard to manage 3 chips? It's hard. Well, he doesn't say, is it? He says, it's hard to manage 3 chips. So if you've got 3 chips in play and you've got your inserts, it's very difficult to manage what's going on. And honestly, it's not. I don't know why. I don't know why he would say that. I mean, because here's the thing. You've got the purse, right? So you open up the purse and you've got the 2 inserts for the suits in there behind the 3 chips. And the first chip facing you is the of. So you take the of out and you put it in their hand. There's no fanning around there. And the inserts are double-sided, right? So the next one, you're going to take out one of the other chips. But you know the suit at this point, so it's very simply a case of sliding the insert in for the back or sliding the second insert in for the back as you pick out the chip. It's very, very easy to do. And it's all taking place in a purse, so it's completely self-working. So you just take the second chip out, so there's no handling issues there. You're just putting one down, the second one down into their hand. Now there's only 1 chip left and an insert. So you take the final chip out, you put it in their hand, you close the purse, you put the purse away. And as you come back out, now you've got the final insert. So there's been no fanning around. You just put those 3 chips in their hand. Now you pick up the first chip and the second chip, you load the final insert, you're putting them here in a fan. Now you're turning them over and you're showing the cards on there. So I don't see where he says, oh, there's going to be a lot of fumbling and there's going to be a lot of fiddling around. I don't see where the fumbling or the fiddling will come from. And on Monday, I'll show you a full expose video and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But there's no fumbling at all. Even if you're doing the Lloyd's favourite handling, where your hand goes in his pocket, he's just grabbing one in the insert. It takes a couple of seconds. So there's not a management. Yeah, you've got 2 gimmicked shells, but it's totally not an issue. I don't think it's a problem. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just experienced and I don't see it as an issue. But I kind of worked through this for 4 years before getting to this point, and I don't know. I don't see an issue. I don't see where the fiddling comes from, but maybe that's just me, or maybe it's because Unbiased hasn't actually watched the tutorial. He's just seen the trailer, so he's making some assumptions, which might be the case. I'm not too sure. Okay, so this is the big one that caused pages and pages and pages on the Magic Cafe. Is it cheaply made? And will there be a version 2.0? When the 2 guys that went over to Magi Fest posted on the cafe saying, I'm not going to buy this, everybody was calling for a 2.0, and a lot of people were throwing Murphys under the bus and saying, oh, the quality is terrible, it's the worst quality ever, which kind of miffed me a bit. And the reason it miffed me is because we spent a long time trying to make sure the quality of this was actually perfect. In fact, people will know that I was showing this around at Blackpool Magic Convention 2024, and it was meant to be released just after Blackpool, but we got the final products back and we went and looked at them, or Murphy's team went and looked them in the warehouse, and they weren't happy, and they sent them over to me and I wasn't happy, so we sent them all back and we did it again. And that took another year to get them over to China, to have them all remade, have them brought back over. It took another year. And then we quality controlled every single individual one. These chips are made to my specifications. If you go on the if you go on the tutorial, you'll see that I show you some of the versions that we were using first, and they're very, very different to what you got now. People were saying alignment issues. I don't really know what people are talking about there. These are absolutely perfect. They look perfect. So in terms of quality control issues, or are they cheaply made, will there be a version 2? I can categorically tell you right now, there will not be a version 2, because I signed off on version 1 and I sent version 1 back many times and said, this isn't good enough. And I think some people might like me, some people might not like me. I'm past caring. But one thing that you must realize is I really care about the quality of the product that I bring out to the Magic community. I make sure it's perfect. Have you ever seen a trick that I've brought out since coming back to the community where the quality control was terrible? Because I haven't. Okay, I have crystallized, and I'm fixing that. More on that later. Thank you, TCC. But I'm fixing that. But other than that, I don't think there's been a quality control issue at all. And this, Murphy's have brought out some great stuff. Repo, I thought was very good. Liquify, I thought was very good. All of the stuff that I did with them last year, I thought was great. I've got all of their sponge stuff in there. I think it's awesome. They're not cheaply made. And here's the thing. Two people said that they looked cheaply made at Magi Fest after looking at them for a couple of minutes, and there were 5 pages of cafe going, "Oh, Craig, why are you so defensive? Blah, 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 blah." And now people are saying, well, I've just received mine. It looks great. I've received mine. It looks great. I've received mine. It looks great. Luke Dancy going, these are awesome. I've got them in my hands. But, the same people aren't commenting now because, unfortunately, there's no narrative that they can spin. And I'm not talking about the guys that originally posted. That's their opinion. That's absolutely fine. But there's certain people that will jump on something like that and comment multiple times the same thing, hoping to be heard. It's the equivalent of standing in a room going, hello, I'm here. Whatever. No, they're not cheap. This is kind of a weird one. The next question is, why are they plastic? Plastic looks cheap. Plastic looks rubbish. Why would you have plastic poker chips? And one guy went on there and said, hey, I'm a professional corporate mentalist. All of my props have to look pristine. They have to look wonderful. I have to have an Armani suit. And I have to have, the best of the best because my clients expect me to be the best of the best. So I would never walk around with a plastic chip. You know what? I mean, we went back and forth about plastic and clay. And obviously I've brought out cheetah chips and they were made out of clay. And that was the best option with cheetah chips. I really do believe that we did the best thing with cheetah chips for a few different reasons, which I'm not going to get into because this is not about cheetah chips. But with this, plastic was better. It really was. And right from the get-go, I said to Murphy's, this came way before cheetah chips. Like, cheetah chips' development was about a year before it came out, maybe a year and a half, 2 years at the absolute most. This has been 4 years. This was in the works way before cheetah chips. And I right from the get-go, I wanted plastic chips. I really did. And the reason I wanted plastic chips is I knew it would make the it would make the routine a little bit easier. But secondly, and probably more importantly, everybody has plastic chips. They do. Like over here in the UK, most people that play poker socially with their friends, and you buy a poker kit online, you're going to get plastic chips that look just like Big Blind. The cheetah chip style chips are professional quality casino chips. You would see those in a casino. But to your average layperson, they would associate casino chips with plastic chips. When I actually showed Ryland cheetah chips for the first time, bearing in mind he plays poker, he's got his own poker set. When I showed him cheetah chips for the first time, he was like, these feel weird, because he'd never felt a clay chip before. To him, the clay chips were weird. And honestly, I don't think that, to answer the Armani soap thing, if you want to dress the best of the best and you want to, everything should be luxury, I don't think that needs to be dictated in your props. I think that you bring the props out, and the props are the props. Yeah, you don't want to have an old knackered up deck of cards, but you're not going to open up a Knox deck and throw it away every single gig just because the quality is perceived better. There's no lay person in history at any gig that I've ever been to that has turned around while I've been doing Big Blind and gone, you know what, that was a good trick. It would have been so much better if those chips were clay, but because they're plastic, we just think less of you. If anything, people are more used to plastic chips. So I disagree. I think that plastic was the best decision. I think that plastic looks fine, and I wouldn't change it. If I could do the whole thing over again, I wouldn't change it. Next question: does it take up lots of pocket space? And the answer is no. The index is very small. You're going to see it on Monday. The index is very small. Doesn't take too much space at all. And I have in there, when I go and do a gig, I have in my right trouser pocket, I have Big Blind. I have the purse with the chips in it for Big Blind. I have the index in there. I have 4 coins for my monster coin routine. And I also have the spare key for Keymaster. And that's all in one pocket. So yeah, it doesn't take up too much space at all. And it was designed to only have 6 inserts. And I think one of the things that we really hit out the park, and a lot of people are saying this as they're buying it, a lot of people are saying that the index is brilliant. So yeah, does it take up lots of pocket space? No. Okay, several people have said to me, will there be an expose video? Yes, Monday. Monday is going to be our expose video, so look out for that on Monday. There will definitely be an expose video. 100%. Okay, so the next question, and this is one that's come up a couple of times, having the prediction on the chips doesn't make sense. And they're talking about the main routine. And the reason it doesn't make sense, according to a few people that have posted, is you're getting it wrong, you're getting it wrong, you're getting it wrong, and then you show that you're correct. And it's like, well, why were you getting it wrong in the first place? And there's a couple of reasons why, and there's a couple of reasons why I think it makes sense. The first reason is this is classic magician in trouble scenario. It's kind of classic magician in trouble. It's kind of like you're making them think the trick's gone wrong so that when you show it's actually gone right, the reaction is stronger, right? That's the first reason. The second reason is I actually talk about influence. So when I perform this, I actually say, right, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you something right now. Straight out the gate, I'm going to tell you I'm going to influence you with what I say and how I act, and the actions that I'm doing right now. I'm going to be influencing you to go in a different direction that you think you're going in, and at the end, I will prove it to you. Okay? Now, with that in mind, we're going to make a bet. I'm going to bet you £150. Okay, if I lose 3 times, if I get this wrong 3 times, you win £150. I will convert this into real money and you can have it. Okay, right, hold your hand out for me. I want you to think of a playing card, any card at all. Just don't think of a joker. Right, okay, I bet you £50. I can tell you the suit of your card. It's a club. No, what is it? It's a heart. Nobody thinks of a heart. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to bet you the second one. I can tell you the value of your card. It's a 4. No, what is it? It's a 7. Damn it. Okay, I bet you one last chip. We'll put this away. One last chip that I can prove to you I knew what your card would be from the beginning. Okay, because here's the thing. These 3 chips have been here from the very beginning, and I said I was going to influence you. And I said everything that I did up until this point was designed to influence you. Me getting it wrong was made... I did that on purpose. Everything I said and did, I did on purpose. Because I wanted you to think of that card from the very beginning. And I'm going to prove it to you, because on the other side of these chips, that's the 7, that's a blah, 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 blah. You know, so it makes sense when you talk about influence. But if you don't like that routine, that's one of multiple routines. One of my favourite routines on the project, excuse me, is one where you... kind of do a 3 fly. So you do this simple coins across that I teach on the project. So you start off by showing 3 chips and you put them down on the table and you say, by the way, name a card. I'll get back to it later on, but name a card. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to show you the difference between sleight of hand and real magic, okay? Watch, I'm going to take these chips, I'm going to put them over here. I'm going to make them jump over here one at a time. That's the first, that's the second, that's the third. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's sleight of hand. I did that with sleight of hand, the hand being quicker than the eye. Hello. But if I told you I could do real magic, well, what was the card you named? Yeah, I didn't tell you this, but the chips on the other side. Boom, boom, boom. So if you don't like the presentation, there's more than one presentation. There's a whole bunch of them. But it makes sense. And I love that classic magician in trouble scenario. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, next question that's come up a lot. Are there other routines? Well, yeah, I've just spent some time talking about them. Javier's got some great routines. There's some wonderful stuff with envelopes. There's some wonderful stuff with a phone. There's some wonderful stuff with an invisible deck. There's a jam session with me and Lloyd at the end. And he's got some great ideas of just using one chip and just predicting a number instead of actually predicting a playing card. So, and having a couple of chips, putting 2 chips down and having a deck that you give to somebody and having them name a card. So they go, I don't know, they go 3 of spades. Well, I know that in the moniker, the 3 of spades, it's a position 21. So as I put the purse away, I get the indexes I need for 21. And as I put the chips over here, I go, now I didn't show you, but on the other side of the chips, it says 21. Deal down to the 21st position. What was the card you named? 3 of spades. Boom. So there's lots of different ways of actually using it. And the jam session with me and Lloyd at the end is super fun. But yeah, there's lots of other routines. Okay, so the next question that came up, and I kind of covered this, but we'll mention it briefly. Why did people not buy it at Magi Fest? Well, I think there's a couple of different reasons. I think the first reason was they looked at it and it was demmed maybe not as well as it could have been. I don't know who demmed it, but I guarantee if they'd seen me dem it, you wouldn't have the same issues, because they wouldn't have said sound issues is an issue. Or alignment issues. But I think the other reason is both of those people had the Predator wallet, which is what this is based on, and they just decided they were going to continue to go with the Predator wallet. They both said on the cafe afterwards that it was, you know, they thought it was clever, but it just wasn't for them, and that's absolutely fine. Now, I don't know why they didn't buy it. That's them to decide, and you know, it's their opinion, it's their money. They choose how to spend it. And one of the guys said that they bought cheetah chips, and for that, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And not every trick is for everybody. You know, there's stuff I've seen that people have raved about that I'm just not that keen on. The stuff that Ryland does that I hate, and the stuff that I do that I know Ryland hates. Just, it is what it is, right? I'm not too sure why they didn't buy it, really, but, you know, I'm glad that a lot of other people have. Okay, so I don't want to dwell too much on this next couple of things because I'm not really into negativity anymore. I want this channel to just be a force of positivity. I mean, I haven't managed to do, you know, like on those workplace things where it's like, hey, you see it on The Simpsons sometimes, don't you? There has been 55 days since our last accident or something. You know, I think there's been like 69 days since I last did a rant. And I don't want to rant anymore. You know, I want to just put content out that's really valuable to people. I know there's a lot of kids that watch this channel. That's not to say I'm not going to put some content out there that kids can't watch. You know, just avoid the mat test and you'll probably be fine. But there's a couple of negative comments, and that normally happens when Unbiased puts a video up that's got anything to do with me. There's a lot of people that don't like me, and they'll comment on that in the channel, and that's absolutely fine. But a couple of people said it's a rip-off of the Predator wallet, and they actually went further and said that Paul Wilson bought out the Predator pack because he wanted it released before the Predator, before before Big Blind, because he wanted to. I don't really even get his point, to be perfectly honest. Look, here's the thing. Yes, I've been very open that Big Blind is my adaptation of the one-ahead principle that was first used in Predator Wallet. It's also been heavily influenced from Cody's comedy Killer Prediction. Both of those influenced this particular trick. And yes, if you want to say it's a rip-off of the Predator wallet, that's fine. I know that the narrative that gets spun in various different circles is Craig is just going to take tricks and rehash them. But my opinion is there are issues with the Predator wallet. And I did the Predator wallet for years, so I know what those issues are. The wallet is very bulky. A Shogun wallet, an adapted Shogun wallet, is very bulky, especially with what it's got to have in there. I wanted it to be less bulky because a wallet looks like it had lots of stuff in there. Even if I use the purse handling, it just looks like it couldn't hold anything else. It definitely couldn't hold 52 chips or whatever it may be. It's much smaller. Second of all, with the Predator wallet, you're having to take the bills out the wallet one at a time. With this, you can have the chips on display from the very beginning. You can even put the chips on the table from the very beginning if you want to. Or you can take them out the purse one at a time and show the purse every single time, which you can't do with the Predator wallet. I love that they're there and they're not switched, which is not the case with the Predator wallet. I like the fact that there's no switch. Second of all, I love the permanent prediction. I love the fact they're printed on the poker chip as opposed to the Predator wallet where they're wrote on there. Now, that's a personal choice, but I actually prefer that. I think that's better. I also like the fact that this resets much quicker. I love the fact that it can be examined. It's in the spectator's hands. There's a lot I love. And also, you know, even if you go, well, that's not enough of an improvement, taking the one-ahead principle, and Paul Wilson wasn't the first person to use the one-ahead principle, but even if you say taking the one-ahead principle isn't enough, it's been put on poker chips. We're using double-sided indexes. Nobody's used double-sided indexes before. David Jonathan is a genius for coming up with that concept and, you know, letting me use it on Big Blind. And he is a genius. But, you know, there's so much that's groundbreaking with this trick. And you know, I could bring out anything. I could do anything, and I'm going to have people go, well, that's a rip-off of this trick. That's a rip-off of this trick. The problem is there's relatively nothing new in Magic. They're all variations on a theme. I just wanted to take that Predator wallet concept and put it into something that was more practical for me, and that's where Big Blind came from. So, you know, if that's how you feel, that's fine. That's your opinion. I'm not going to be able to change it, and I'm not going to argue with you because there's no point. But yeah, no, I don't think it's a rip-off. I have to address one other point as well. There's somebody that went on there and on Unbiased video and said Craig is a liar. He's definitely a liar, and his proof, his smoking gun that I'm a liar, is a video I did. I love how a lot of the people that make negative comments about me, they reference videos that I've made. I love the fact that there's a bunch of people out there that hate me, and yet they constantly watch my videos. That kind of makes me, it gives me a warm fuzzy inside that they're obviously sitting there going, "Arr, arr, arr." And I think that's the problem. I think the problem is when people post on the cafe or YouTube, wherever it may be, about how I'm not a great person, or whatever the case may be, it tends to happen more and more when a new trick comes out with my name on it, because I think people get frustrated. And I understand why. Hey, I bought 16 tricks out in 2024, and every single one of them was a fantastic seller. At Penguin Magic, the world's largest magic shop, I was #1 on the top inventors list for pretty much 4/5 of the year last year. We're now at the end of January 2025, and I've been #1 on that list for the last month. I've already bought out this, which has been incredibly successful already, and you haven't even seen what I'm doing. I'm working with Marvelous Matt Wright, I'm working with Mark Bennett, I'm working with TCC, I'm working with Sven from Green Lemon, I'm working with Alakazam, obviously, TCC, Penguin Magic, Vanishing Ink, Murphy's, and I know that the people that don't particularly like me, that must really annoy them, because they hate me. They think I'm the worst magician in the world, but I'm bringing out banger after banger after banger and getting 5-star review after 5-star review after 5-star review. I get it's frustrating, guys, I really do, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm really sorry, but, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to slow down. I'm not going to slow down. I'm not going to stop. But, you know, I'm a liar, because so one of these videos I did, I talked about how I'm not going to rant anymore, which I'm not. I talked about how I'm really happy because I'm getting more time to do performing, hang out with my kids, hang out with my family, create more magic, and book more gigs. And I talked about doing thousands of kid shows so far this month or this year, or thousands of kid shows last year. And the guy said he's a liar. No one could do thousands of kid shows. Just look me up, man. Look me up. I'm not going to try and justify that. Could somebody in the comments down below that knows me tell this guy how many kid shows my company does? I think last year we did 18,500. Obviously, I'm not doing all of them myself. And that's the thing, you know, I do a lot outside of what you see on this YouTube channel. When I say I'm doing thousands of shows every single year, I'm underplaying that. There's probably, 120 magicians and kids entertainers in the UK that get their work pretty much exclusively from me. But if you want to say that that makes me a liar, you go right ahead. Okay, we've got 3 more points and then we're done. The next question is, Craig just wants to make money. It's not about the art at all. Guys, listen, if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't be sitting here making YouTube videos, and I would not be producing stuff like this. I don't know how I'm going to do out of Big Blind. I have no idea, but I guarantee you I could sit on the sales desk in that office for a week and make triple what I'm going to be making for Big Blind. If it was all about money, I'm doing the wrong thing. I shouldn't be in here doing this. I should be in that sales desk selling events. That's what I should be doing. That's my business. That's how I make my money. This is fun. This is enjoyable. I love magic. I love the magic community. That's how I make my money. I love magic. That is how I make my money. This is a passion project for me. Okay? It's not all about the money. It's genuinely not all about the money, because off YouTube, I make about £500 a month. Oh, Craig, that's not bad. That's £6,000 a year. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. But it's not worth doing. Not worth doing. It's not. I'm sitting here right now. I've been up since 7 o'clock filming videos. I've got to go to a gig tonight at 3 o'clock. I'm off to do an illusion show in Worcester with Matt and Kat. I'm heading over there with Kat, and she's going to be setting up the illusion show with me. Then Matt's joining us when he finishes work, and he's coming down and we're doing the show together. I should be prepping for that, but I'm not. I'm sitting here doing a Q&A that's got to go up tonight about Big Blind. There's honestly, if this was about making money, I am doing the wrong thing. And I've been in business for a long time, and I know how to make money. And if I wanted to just make money, I would not be doing magic creation. Okay, so penultimate question. Are they examinable? People say, oh, the chips, they're not examinable. They can't be examined. Yes, they can. So when the inserts go inside the chips, the inserts are quite small. So if you look at the design of the chips here, the insert is just the inside part. And you'll see this on Monday when I do an expose video. But the inserts are quite small. They're on the inside of the, they're on the middle of the chip, right? When the inserts are in there, they're magnetically locked in place. They're not going to come out. You have to put them against the index for the inserts to come out. They're going to come out. They're not going to come out. They're locked in place. So when you have everything finished and the chips are there, there's 2 points. One, they can pick this up and watch the performance videos. You'll see they pick the chip up and they turn it round like this, and they see nothing because there's nothing to see, because they're just turning the chip round. The only way they could find something would be as if they put their finger right in the center of the chip and started doing that. And even then, they might not realize that that's a thing, but that's the only way they could do that. Now, as a magician that understands about inserts and shells, would they do it? Yeah, this is not designed to fool a magician. This is not a magician fooler. This is designed to be worked in the real world, commercially, to real people. This is not designed to fool magicians. If I showed this to a magician, they're gonna realize what they're gonna look for. But for lay people, they're just gonna turn it around. And even more, that's even more true when you consider that you're putting them into the spectators' hands, right? So the chips are going into their hands from the beginning. So at the end, their chips are in their hands. And so when they turn them over, they do what is in the live performances. People just go, yeah, and then throw them down on the table because there's nothing to find. There is literally nothing to find because from their point of view, they're chips. And the chips aren't important. Yes, that's where the revelation is, but they've been in play from the very, very beginning. So at most, they're just going to turn them over and look at them and just put them down on the table. And if they do that, they're not going to see anything. I've never had a layperson look at these and figure out how it's done ever, or even come close. And like I say, look at the video, the performance video from the session. They're looking at them, they're handing them over to her partner. He's looking at them. And that's what I like to do. I like to hand each person a chip. And don't forget, the of one is completely ungimmicked. So if there is a guy that I perceive could be a bit of a engineer-y type, I'll give him the of chip. And I give the chips out to 3 different people for a couple of different reasons. But one, it means that, you know, but even then they don't want to examine them. They never want to examine them. So yeah, they're examinable. Magicians are going to find out how this works, but it's not designed to fool magicians. And I think the final question is, what's the reset like? So the reset's really easy. So basically, when you get the chips, right, and I'll go through this on Monday, but when you get the chips, to reset it, all you have to do is take out the 2 inserts and put them back into the correct place. Now, I can do that in my pocket because I've been doing this a long time. So as I take the inserts back and I'm walking to the next table, I can take the value chip and I just touch it next to the insert and I come out, and that's going to leave it on the insert, and so I can just go boom and put it into the index. And I can do the other one, literally 10 or 15 seconds, fiddling around in my pocket, I can do it. If I'm not going into my pocket, I can do it in like 5 seconds. And I don't need to run off anywhere to do it at all. The index is designed to be palmed. So I can literally just go into my pocket, take out the index, I take the 2 chips, I go bonk, bonk, put the chips away into the purse, take the insert, put it away into the purse, put the other, because the other one's still in the purse, put everything away in my pocket, and it's reset. Like 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, something like that, and you're reset, ready to go to the next group of people. As you do it more, it's going to be easier. It's going to get reset quicker, but it doesn't take very long at all. So there you go. Big blind. All the questions answered. I can't think. Oh, no, there was one other question. One person said, will the magnet strength degrade over time? And the answer is no. I mean, I've been using the same chips for a long time, and the magnet, and people throw them and they go, oh my God. I've never had the chips lose their magnetic integrity. I didn't even know that could happen. I've been using them for a long time and they haven't yet. So I don't think that's a problem at all that you need to worry about. But yeah, that's it. That's Big Blind. Any other questions you've got, leave them down below, because I am going to be doing an expose video on for Monday. So there won't be a 5x5 on Monday coming. It's going to be a full expose video on Big Blind, and then we'll be back with your regularly scheduled programming the week after. But for everyone that's picked up Big Blind, thank you very much. For anybody that's asked a question or left a comment, I hope this has covered everything for you. If you have any other questions, leave them down below. You can get this from your favorite magic dealer. Go and support your magic dealer, your local magic dealer. They need your money, so go and support them. And I will be back tomorrow with another video. I've got a really cool video tomorrow. I've got a Hows and Whys. I know everybody loves the Hows and Whys videos. I've got a Hows and Whys video going up tomorrow. I'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.